Okay, let's look at these directions. These directions say to find an equation of an ellipse with the given information. The information they gave us was the center and the radius in the x direction as well as the radius in the y direction. Now, since it is an ellipse, they told us we're finding an equation of an ellipse. That means that I should write down the standard form of equation of an ellipse. So, standard form looks like this. Correct? Okay. Now, let's identify the information they gave us over here. They gave us the center, didn't they? They gave us the radius in the x and the y direction, didn't they? Notice the variables we actually need to fill in on the standard form of the ellipse. What variables do we need to fill in here to actually come up with its equation? Good, I heard some of you. What we need to fill in is we need to know h, we need to know k, we need to know a, and we need to know b, don't we? Okay, so h and k represent the what? Yeah, they represent the center. So we know h is a -1 and k is a +2. Agreed? Now a is under the x. So what would a represent here? Good, the 3, because that's the radius in the x direction, and the b being under the y variable. Good, the b is the radius in the y direction, which is 2. So if we start filling things in, that means I have x minus, yeah, I have x minus a -1 squared over a squared plus y minus k, which is 2 squared, over b, which is 2 squared, and that's supposed to equal 1. Yes? Okay, so simplifying this, I end up with the ellipse for this information looking like what I am writing on this last line. Cool? Okay, hang in there. Got another one for us. Okay, so let's look at this problem. Let me point something out to you first. Now, the directions were very nice to us because they asked us to find an equation of an ellipse. But if they just said find an equation of a conic, and they didn't tell you it was an ellipse, you'd be like, well, how do I know what this is? Well, notice, it has a center, a vertex, and a focus. Do circles have all 3 pieces of information? No. Do parabolas have all 3 pieces of information? No. Up until this point, the only conic that has all 3 pieces of information is an ellipse. So here's the deal. If I'm going to write an equation of ellipse, I need to know 4 variables, don't I? What are they? Good. You need to know h, you need to know k, you need to know a and b, don't you? Now, by the way, while we're at it, do you know which direction the major axis is here? Do I have a major axis that's horizontal or do I have one that's vertical? Take a look at your information. They gave you the center, they gave you the vertex, they gave you the focus. Which direction is this particular ellipse going? Say it again, I heard some of you. Since the vertex is to the right of the center, and since my x's are the ones doing the changing, then my major axis here is, that's right, it's horizontal. The x's are doing the changing. X's go left and right, correct? My vertex is to the right of my center. My focus is to the right of my center, isn't it? Okay, so let's look. Do I have any information here? Do I have any of my 4 variables? I have h and k. What's h and what's k? That's right. H is 6, k is -5, and we got that from the center. So check We use the center. That gave us H and K. But I still need A and B, don't I? Okay, there's two other pieces of information I haven't looked at yet. So, let's look at the vertex. Why? Because they wrote it second. No other reason. They wrote it second. So, the vertex is to the right of the center, isn't it? My major axis is horizontal, which means from your H and your K, which one of these is doing the changing? Good, the H is doing the changing, isn't it? And the H, since it's to the right of the center, it's going to be H plus A. And by the way, let me make this notation. We're going to have the A under the X, and we're going to have the B under the Y. So it's a good idea to make that notation for yourself. Cool? Okay, so notice, 9 is in the place of H plus A, isn't it? Which means 9 must equal H plus A. Do you agree? And don't I know H? Yeah, H is equal to 6. So I know that 9 equals 6 plus A, which means I know A is equal to, excellent, 3. Got it. Okay. There's one other piece to the puzzle that we haven't looked at yet. Yeah, and that's the focus. Now, again, the focus is to which direction of my center? That's correct, it's to the right, which means this would be H plus C. Excellent. You're like, I don't need C. I know we don't need it. I know we need B, but there's a reason we're going to find that C, so hang in there. So 8 is in the place of H plus C, correct? So that means 8 is equal to H plus C. I know the H, which means I just found that C equals 2, didn't I? Okay, help me out here. When you're working with the foci, how do you find C? Good, I heard you. C is equal to the square root of A squared minus B squared. But wait. A has to be larger than B, doesn't it? Okay, since my major axis is horizontal, right? That means that the number under X has got to be the larger number. So not only did we put A under the X, because that's what we have here, we also have that A needs to be larger, which means A squared has to be bigger than B squared. Remember, we can't get a negative number. So, C was 2. Since A was 3, A squared is, good, 9. And now you've just got an algebraic equation to solve, so what are you going to do first? Good, square both sides. So 4 is equal to 9 minus B squared. And when I solve, I get B squared equals 5, don't I? Which means B equals the square root of 5, if I really want to take it that far. Good? Okay, are we ready to write our equation of ellipse? Do we have all the pieces to our puzzle? We sure do. Which means, in this particular case, the equation of your ellipse is x minus h. Well, x minus 6 squared over, we put a under the x, right? That's what we said. We put a under the x, so that's going to be a 9, isn't it? Plus y minus k. Well, k is a negative 5, which means it's going to be y, good, plus 5 squared over b squared. Yeah, which is 5 equals 1. Cool? Not too bad, right? Okay, hang in there. Got another one for us. Okay, so let's look at this third one. Look at the information they gave us. They gave us the foci, and they told me the major axis has a length of 14. So now let's stop and take a look at this. I know I'm trying to write an equation of an ellipse, right? So I need 4 variables. What are they? Good, I heard you. I need to know h and k, a and b. And remember what I mentioned before, we should identify where a and b are. So I'm going to put the a under the x and the b under the y, okay? And we also need to identify which direction the major axis is. So take a look at the information and see which direction you think the major axis is. Did you get it? Notice what's happening. The y's are changing, aren't they? If the y's are changing, that means this is a vertical. That's right. The major axis on this particular ellipse is vertical, isn't it? Okay. Now, notice something else here, because this clue has told me one of these variables. The y's are changing. So which variable is not changing? Good, the x isn't changing. So if the x is not changing, then can you see, based upon this information, what your, pardon me, the x coordinate is not changing. Let me be a little more specific. The x coordinate is not changing, which means you actually can identify which of these 4 variables. I heard some of you. Which one is it? It's the h. The h in this particular case is going to be equal to what number? Yep, 0. Remember, the foci, since this is vertical, the foci are above the center and below the center. And if the y's are doing the changing, the x's are not. So in this case, your x has got to be equal, or your h has got to be equal to 0. The h, which in this case is the x coordinates, must be equal to 0. Cool? Okay. Now, let's look at the fact that they told me the major axis length is 14. So I'm going to draw that vertical ellipse. I know my center, right? Now they're telling me the length of the major axis, which cuts through the center, which means it goes from vertex to vertex. Agreed? So if this is the center and this whole length is supposed to be 14, then what does that tell you? Yeah, that tells you that from the center to this vertex has a length of 7, and from this vertex to the center also has a length of 7, doesn't it? Which means you've got the radius in which direction? You got the radius in the y direction, which means you know your radius in the y direction is 7. Good? Hey, we're doing pretty good so far. We only have 2 variables left to find, a and k. All right, so we really use the major axis. We're done with this. There's not much more information I can get out of it. But I really haven't used the foci. So remember, from our center, correct, the foci, to get the focus above, and to get the focus below. So help me out. How do I get the focus below the center? Yeah, it's going to be h comma k minus c. Now here's the deal. I know I've got formulas there that I put back in the beginning of the introduction video, and you're like trying to remember the formula. Here's what I need you to actually understand. If it's below, you're going to subtract. If it's to the left, you're going to subtract, because that's where the negative numbers go, right? If it's above, you're going to add. If it's to the right, you're going to add, because that's where all the positive numbers are, aren't they? I got to put variables in these places, so we got placeholders at least. But don't get too bogged down in them. Understand the logic of what we're saying. If I need the focus below the center, so then I'm going to subtract from the y coordinate, which is k. And if I'm looking for the focus above the center, then I'm going to add to that k. And yeah, remember, the variable is c, isn't it? Okay, so here is the one below. Here is the one above, right? So here's the one below. and there's the one above, which means that the negative 2 is in place of the k minus c, isn't it? And the positive 2 is in place of the k plus c. Agreed? Okay. But I don't know k, and I certainly don't know c, so I've got two equations with two unknowns, don't I? So how are you going to solve this? I heard some of you, yay, you're going to solve this by using the good elimination method. I heard you guys. Awesome. Which means I'm going to take this equation and I'm going to line it up underneath the second one, and I'm hoping, yep, all I get to do is add these two equations and those c's drop out, don't they? Yay for elimination method. You're like, but so do the 2's. So what? So negative 2 plus 2, 0. K plus k, 2k. Negative c plus c drops out. So I'm left with an equation to solve, and I found out that k is equal to 0. Awesome! I got one more variable to find, and what's the one variable I have left to find? A. Okay, so let me go over here to this equation. Since k is 0, couldn't I plug it in here? Sure. Which means I know that c equals 2, don't I? Yep, and there's that formula again. We've got to know that formula. And c is equal to the square root of, which one is longer? Yeah, the one under the y is longer, isn't it? Because that's the major axis length. So this one is supposed to be larger, which means in this case I'm going to write b squared minus a squared. Does that make sense? Okay. So c was 2. B squared is 49 minus a squared. Use your algebra solving skills. I'm squaring both sides. Whoops. If I square both sides, that means the square root is gone, isn't it? Okay, so let me erase it. And when I solve for a squared, I get a squared equals 45, don't I? Or a is the square root of 45, agreed? Okay. I got all the pieces to my puzzle, don't I? So let's write this out. X minus h. What's h? 0. So it's just x squared, isn't it? Over a, because we said a is going under x. Well, I square this number. What do I get? Yeah, 45. Y minus k. Well, k is 0, so y squared. Over, yeah, we put the b under the y, so 7 squared, 49, equals 1. Good? Okay, got one more of these. Hang in there. Okay, so let's look at this fourth problem. Remember, they're asking me to find the equation of an ellipse. So what information do I need to find? Good, I need to find h, k, a, and b. And I'm going to have the a be under my x and the b be under the y. So I always want to mark that down. What else do I need to know? Good, I need to know the major axis. So take a look at the information I've given you. My major axis is which direction? Good, the x's are the ones doing the changing. So that means it's a horizontal. So since it's horizontal, which one's bigger, A or B? Yeah, the A's got to be larger because I put it under the X. Good? Okay. So the question is, did they give me any information? Yes, they did. Good. They gave me the center. Right here, they told me this H is 4 and K is 4. Right? Okay. Center done. Focus. Okay. I know the focus goes from HK. Right? It goes from the center. And since the focus looks like it's to the right of the center, that means we are going to, good, add. And what are we adding? Yeah, that funky little C that looks like it came out of nowhere. So in this particular case, 11 is in the place of H plus C. I know H, which means C is equal to, good, 7. But I'm not looking for C, I'm looking for A and B, aren't I? Yeah, I heard you guys, but you're like, yeah, but you know C. You know the I know the formula for C. So I know C is equal to that square root. Now wait. Oh yeah, A's got to go first because it's larger. A squared minus B squared, right? Which means 7 is equal to A squared minus B squared. The square root of it, right? And I square both sides, I got 49 is equal to A squared minus B squared. But I still don't know A and B, do I? So how am I supposed to... All right, hang in there. Do you notice the one piece of information I still need to use? I use the focus, by the way. The one piece of information I still need to use? Yeah, the point on the ellipse. That's the only other piece of information I have. That actually tells me something. Like, what's it tell you? Okay, if this is just a point, think about what these two numbers represent. The center represents H comma K, doesn't it? The focus represents H plus C comma K, doesn't it? If this is just a point, what does this point represent? It represents X comma Y. So now think about this. I have the center, so I could start writing this ellipse. X minus 4, quantity squared over A squared, right? Plus Y minus K, which in this case is also 4, squared over the B squared equals 1, right? You now know X and you now know Y. Couldn't you plug in the X and the Y to hopefully get a second equation that has an A and a B in it? Because this equation I'm stuck because I got two unknowns in a single equation. But if I plug in the X and the Y here, couldn't I get a second equation that has A's and B's in it for me to be able to work with? Good. So let's plug it in. So in place of the X, what are we going to put? Yeah, we're going to put 4. Ooh, I'm liking the way this is looking already. And in place of the Y, what are we going to put? Yeah, you're going to put 5. Right? Okay. What's 4 minus 4? Yeah, 0. This first one drops out, doesn't it? So be it. Let it go. What do we get here? 5 minus 4. 1. Squared? 1. So I got 1 over B squared equals 1. Use your algebra. 1 is equal to B squared. B is equal to a positive 1 or a negative 1, isn't it? And you're like, how do you know which one it is? A and B, remember, represent your radii. Are radii positive and negative? Nope, they're only positive. This negative one isn't going to work for us, which means in this case, B is equal to a positive 1. And if I know, or since I know B is equal to a positive 1, that means over here that 49 is equal to A squared minus, 1 squared, which is just 1. I'm going to move this over here. I add the 1 to both sides. I get 50 is equal to A squared, don't I? Or A is the square root of 50. Agreed? Do I have all the pieces to my puzzle? I sure do. Just like we started. X minus 4 squared. And then Y minus 4 squared. Right? Well, what's your A squared now? Yeah, A squared is 50. What is your b squared? Yeah, that's 1. Or the way they will write this, because anything divided by 1 is just itself, they will simply write it this way without putting the 1 under the y. Does this make sense? Okay, hang in there. Got a couple stories